Chapter 6 of the New Companies Act, number 71 of 2008, makes it possible for insolvent or financially strained South African companies to apply for business rescue. What exactly is involved in applying for business rescue, and how does business rescue affect the companies, creditors, financial institutions, shareholders and employees of the insolvent business? We're talking to a senior business rescue practitioner and attorney, that George Nell, and Rudolph Dippenaar, owner of Infraburo. That's a company that recently underwent a business rescue. In fact, Rudolph, you're still going through that process right now, 10 months into it. Yes. Tell us what happened when you realized that you were in dire straits, that you were in a position where you needed to approach legal aid, and tell us how this process has panned out for you.
Yeah. See, when we realized that we had a serious cash flow problem, we realized we had to do something, and we came across George. And we had a meeting with him, and having the opportunity through the new the act to go for business rescue, we applied for that, and we went through the whole process of negotiations with all our creditors and to negotiate a rescue plan with them, with the assistance of George, we managed to negotiate a fairly good deal for us. At the end of the day, we got a 30% discount on all our creditors that was outstanding at the time when we went into business rescue. And we also managed to negotiate a pay-off arrangement with our creditors over a period of 42 months, interest-free. And I mean, that is definitely, it is assisting us a lot. And as George said, we are now about 10 months into the process, so we are busy walking the path to get ourselves back on track again.
Looking back quickly, what led to those cash flow problems?
Well, I can put it in a very short sentence: is government not paying timeously, not paying their people doing work for them, and
I mean, it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic that we're speaking to another company in South Africa that's had to come almost to its knees and cripple over because of government not living up to those contracts right now. You're civil engineers. We've got those skills in South Africa. We need to keep the people busy, and we need to keep the people employed. What is it about a company that makes it to be able to apply for business rescue? I mean, what is the checklist? Because not all businesses in South Africa can apply to go through this process.
Well, the company must be financially distressed. That's the first point, and it must be rescuable. As I said on a previous occasion, the board of the company, if the company is financially distressed, they can resolve that they will go into business rescue. And they must also think that the company is rescuable.
So break that down for us. I mean, how do you analyze whether a company will be able to come out the other side?
That is a difficult thing to say on the beginning. You have to look at the contracts. In the case of Infraburo, it's a civil engineering company, consulting company with professional engineers. And the only problem is that they can't collect their debtors timeously. So they're in financial difficulty, and we have to structure the payment of their creditors over a period of time. If we on the way here in preparation for this, we've discussed it. If we get all the money in now, it's not necessary for this entity to be in business rescue, and we can stop the business rescue. So in regard to your specific question, you can go, the board can take a decision, or the company, creditor, employee or a union can go to court to ask for business rescue of the company.
So what kind of success rate have we seen thus far?
The CIPC's figures are, say, 52%. In reality, the definition of business rescue is also the sale of the assets for a better dividend than in the liquidation scenario. I don't really think that is a real business rescue. What we would like to have is a business that, under the same management, go on and save the jobs. So I would say it's close to 30%, but it's at least 30% that's been saved.
Okay.
How did you hear about this business rescue? I mean, obviously it's in the law in South Africa, but not all companies in South Africa know that this option even exists.
Well, I think in the past it was called, there was something similar that you could apply for business to go under business administration.
Judicial management.
Or judicial management, yes. And in our situation, I was thinking about this for quite some time, But our financial manager, at some point, she did some searches on the internet and came across the opportunity and the possibility to do that. And then she also got a hold of George to assist us with this whole process.
During this process, how does it affect, stakeholders of the company, especially employees? Does it put any jobs at risk?
No, not at all. No, not at all. The Act actually is a bit lenient on that. It hampers my possibility of rescuing the business in a certain sense, because I have to pay all the arrears, and in future I have to negotiate in terms of the Labour Act situations where I want certain people to be laid off and so on. So it hampered me a bit. Sometimes it's better for a company to go into liquidation, because the liquidation scenario, the workers get it's the end of the employment contract. Where in a business rescue, it's not the end of the employment contract, and that is specifically the reason for, partly the reason for this act.
And how long does the whole process take? Does it get lagged out quite a bit, or is it?
No, I've worked out, it's supposed to end within 6 weeks to 3 months. The stats tells us that it's 5.6 months is the general time period for a business rescue. Now, after the business plan was voted in, then the implementation stage begins, and that's where Rudolph's company is in. So implementation stage.
Of a new business plan.
Well, the business plan now, we have to pay off the creditors in the next 42 months. So at this stage in future, I have to decide that I'm going to withdraw from this and file my substantial implementation notice. So that will be in the next few months.
So legally right now, I mean, what is your kind of, status when it comes to the company relative to the board members and the shareholders?
Well, I'm in full management control of the company. And Rudolph works for me at this stage, but that's not the truth. I can delegate some of my powers, which I did, back to Rudolph, and just have a financial hand on the entity. It doesn't. I cannot go to the entity every day. It will be cost ineffective for the entity to have me there. It's costly for the entity.
So in terms of this process, who foots the bill? I mean, how are costs managed in the system? How expensive is it, and how are the bills like yours paid? Yeah,
the entity must pay me at a certain rate. Entity that's got public interest score of less than 100, it's 1,250 Rand an hour, VAT inclusive, plus 100 interest score, 1,500 Rand, and a big company 500 plus, 2,000 Rand an hour. So it's not a very, very high professional fee, but it counts, it adds
George,
up.
in the case of where a South African company going under business rescue, when they have subsidiaries elsewhere where they don't fall under the same processes, how does that work? Do you have jurisdiction in those other countries?
Well, if the company is registered in South Africa, it's got branches in another country, then you'll have jurisdiction. If the entity is registered, the company is registered in another company, you won't have jurisdiction.
Okay.
If there were cash flow problems, sorry, I just need to understand this point. If there were cash flow problems, which meant that you were unable to pay your creditors, how have you now been able to? Where have you been getting the money?
Well, first of all, you try to put a lot of pressure on your clients to pay your accounts, and it's a strenuous process, I'm telling you. But in some cases you're successful, other cases you just need to keep on pressurizing them. And
is the law on your side when it comes to, once you go into business rescue, being able to then go to the debtors and essentially try and get money out of them?
Well, not specifically, but there's a moratorium on paying your creditors. So that moratorium assists you a lot.
On the cash flow aspect.
On the cash flow aspect, you get a compromise of 30% in Infraburo's case, and you structure it over 42 months without paying interest. If a company can't survive that, then the company is really in big problems.
So when we're talking about negotiating haircuts essentially with creditors right now, how did you convince creditors that they should take the 30% haircut and they should remain with the company through this process, as opposed to going the other option, liquidation?
Yeah. Well, I think in this case, George was the person who did most of the negotiations with the creditors. And I think maybe he can...
If I may, you have to compare the liquidation scenario with the business rescue plan. And the liquidation scenario is always a very, very bad picture. In the case of Infraburo, if I liquidated the entity immediately, the creditors were supposed to get 7 cents in the rand. So we offered them 70 cents in the rand over the next 42 months. So it was just a nice option for them to take the 70 cents in the rand. It was not me that was, it was the facts that was good for the company.
Now, having gone through the process of business rescue, how does that now impact on your ability to get new business and make and do business with other businessmen going forward, knowing that you've had an experience where you had cash flow problems, therefore you had to go through business rescue?
Well, it makes it difficult, but you know, we just go through the normal channels that in ways and means we normally get business by submitting proposals to clients and so on, and that's the only what.
Are you turning your back on government essentially as your core client base?
No.
Can you afford to do that?
No, we can't really afford to do that. I still maintain that government is one of the best clients to have. I think there's just a lot of administrative issues that they need to sort out within the different departments and municipalities to make sure that these payments are going through within the 30 days as the
How long was it taking you to get payments? I mean, if the 30 days stipulated, how long did you, if you did get your money, eventually get your money?
I think you're going to be shocked. In some cases, we're still waiting now for more than a year, and 9 months, 12 months, and longer to get paid substantial amounts of money.
Okay.
You must understand that the Infraburo is an empowerment company. It is Rudolph is sitting here today as the MD, but Infraburo is an empowerment company. That's how they get the state contracts and local government contracts, and they do good business with the state. That's only the biggest client, or the only client.
George, at what stage do you then say now Infraburo is ready to fly on its own? And going forward from that point, do you go back and check up on their progress and how they're doing? Maybe get reports in terms of are you managing your cash flow? Are your creditors paying? Do you have a role, or is there a role that you actually play when they've reached a point whereby they can actually stand on their own?
Well, at this stage with this specific entity, we're just still managing to try to pay the basic creditor list. Each and every month it's the difficulty, even though we've got a small payment to make, it's a difficulty. If I see that we're starting to make the payments more easily, regularly, then I will withdraw, and then I'm finished with the company, and then I'll hand it back to Rudolph and his board.
Do you get a lot of cases where people apply or come to you for business rescue help, but they're actually not eligible for it and you just don't want to take it on?
You get a lot of them. If you look at the definition and you say that you can sell the assets and get a better dividend than in the liquidation scenario, then you can take it on. But that's not a real business rescue as we would like to see the word of the meaning of the word business rescue.
Yeah, I mean, you're an attorney who's chosen to specialize specifically in this aspect. I mean, this is your lifeblood right now. What can government do, or what needs to change when it comes to legislation to make your life easier, or to make this kind of legal act within this kind of new change within the Companies Act more successful here in South Africa?
Post-commencement finance, if we are appointed, it's a good act, still very, very, very in the new phases and difficult to implement in certain sections, and the court is involved and so on. Only 2.5 years, 2 years and 3 months. But post-commencement finance, if we can have some kind of slush fund to have the government or any commercial bank to give us some money just after business rescue started, to get just a kickstart again. And post-commencement finance is specifically secured in terms of this act. It is statutory preferent. So if you borrow me money after my company went into business rescue, you'll get your money first. So that is a slush fund of post-commencement finance, or some kind of fund. That is what I would like to require.